Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Oh man, Judge Reese delivered today, guys. Let me tell you. So, yes, it's a custody modification hearing. So some of you are going to mute it. That's fine. You're going to miss out because it is a good one today. Um, I don't have the mother's lawyer asking her questions, but I have everything since then. I have the cross examine, and I have the mom still on stand for a while, and I have the dad on stand. And gosh, just wait till the ending. My jaw hit the floor a couple times during the ending. It's really good. So, and you know what? Just so real quick, the reason why I don't have the beginning is because this Judge Reese, goes to all these different courtrooms. All right, it's a list of, I don't know, 80 courtrooms. It's not just Judge Reese. There's a couple others, and you don't know which courtroom they're going to be at. You have no idea which courtroom any of these judges are going to be at any day. And some courtrooms they use once every 6 months maybe, and some they use a little more frequently. But you would have to set up all 80 to get. I can't get the beginnings, but that's why I can't get the beginnings because there's so many courtrooms and you don't know when they're going to be there, and there's no notification that they're coming.
And, Your Honor, I think that's all I have.
You may cross-examine.
This is the mother. This is the mother's lawyer. Father's lawyer. Father, Judge Reese. Hi, Judge Reese. We love you, Judge Reese.
You can go at the podium or that, you can go at the podium if you like, as long as you stay near a microphone.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kathy, I believe that's on.
Divorced.
Ms. Iker, you said previously that one visitation wasn't allowed because of the hurricane, but y'all agreed to modify it.
There was no agreement to modify. It was just that we would forego that visitation for their safety and our safety.
You got Braden Bryson July 19th of this year for the summer, right?
Yes.
And then August 4th, you dropped him back off to Brian.
Yes.
How many visitations have you actually come down to complete since August 4th of this year?
I cannot recall, but if it's 2 to 3 times a month, normally, depending on how the month rolls, but
You've come down every time since then?
if I'm recalling correctly, yes. Maybe there's, well, other than that one weekend. Maybe there's
Other
a
than what
weekend.
now?
The weekend from the hurricane, but I want to say.
Yeah, and then you
yeah.
had the Thanksgiving when you came in with, but it was his Thanksgiving,
Right.
all right? And are you saying you made every other one, or are you saying maybe not?
I want to say there was maybe one weekend I couldn't, and I can't recall what the purpose was. I had emergency surgery.
So the only times there's an issue where maybe Brian didn't let you complete the visitation was related to the hurricane and then Thanksgiving?
Yes, and then he almost, for fall break, he was withholding them
But you got them,
eventually.
yeah.
You said earlier there were 13 cavities in Bryson's mouth?
Yes.
Is there a reason, how many teeth were actually treated though?
None were treated. This was just an exam It was supposed to be just a cleaning and an exam.
And so they gave you an estimation of what 4 phases of treatment would be?
Yes, of what they needed done, and then I believe they put it in the priority of what was necessary, to being the mini root canals.
Now, you got this done on July 30th, correct?
Correct.
And so the tooth that was cracked,
Yes.
you had them for 11 days prior to that tooth being cracked? Or you had them, I'm sorry, before any dentist said the tooth was cracked?
Yes. Well, he had been complaining for a few days that his tooth was hurting, and then eventually I was like, all right, I need to take him in, because we did further examination, and then I was like, all the way in the back, and I was like, oh, that looks like a hole.
So you didn't see about getting them treated while they were with you during the summer?
That was during the summer.
Well, I'm saying you didn't actually follow up on this. You just got an estimated payout for it, correct?
Yes, and I did want to follow up, but, well, actually, I set an appointment, but he called the office and canceled it.
You said you actually don't know who their primary physician is, correct?
Yes,
But haven't you actually gone with Brian to their primary physician?
6 years ago, yes.
I'm sorry?
6 years ago.
And that was why y'all lived in Vidalia?
Yes.
Have you tried to get medical records from that medical provider?
I tried calling, but
Have you tried to get medical records from that medical provider?
yes, but
And have they told you they're no longer being treated there, or what did they tell you?
I cannot recall.
Okay. So as far as you know, you do know the doctor. If it's still the same one, you do know the doctor. You just haven't gone there to get the records. Am I right?
I don't know if they're still going there, because he's not.
I understand. You won't know till you ask. Have you gone to that doctor with your court order that gives you the right to get their medical records and said, okay, I want to see their records. Are they being treated here?
No, sir.
So the fact that you don't know is your own fault because you haven't gone and asked them. All right?
Yes, sir.
On your new income or child support worksheet, you said that your income's $5,700 a month?
Yes.
5716, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
You also have your bills as being more than your income on your financial affidavit, right?
Yes.
Well, what does your husband do?
He works in powder coating.
And what?
Powder coating?
So when you're showing on your financial affidavit that your bills outweigh your income, you're putting your entire house income on this worksheet, but not making any kind of mitigations for your spouse's income?
I didn't realize I don't know. Let me check. Which exhibit? 10? 10.
Yes.
No, I guess not, just because I assumed it was just for me.
All right,
So when you cashed out
hold
your,
on just a second. You're showing rent or mortgage payment of $1,700 a month.
Right.
Is that the full amount or is that half of the amount?
That's the full amount.
That's the full amount, okay. So you are showing the full amount of the mortgage even though your husband is employed and contributing to the income of the household.
Right. No, I guess the other expenses is what I was trying to understand. Because we are paying the rent together.
But you've shown the full amount here as being your obligation.
Which one, sir?
Well, the mortgage payment, I just looked at one.
Before we get too much further in, I'm so sorry. While I was recording, everybody kept DMing me in Discord, and I didn't realize because it was recording. I wasn't even near my computer. So that's it. Discord is gone from this computer. So this is the last video that you're going to hear those ding, ding, dings through. And you're going to hear a lot.
Picked up one. You're showing the mortgage or rent of $1,707. And you said that's the full amount. Just answer the question. What is the amount of your mortgage payment?
The rent payment is about 17.
Okay, so that's the full amount.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you took out $15,000 in November of this year?
That was a retro check.
Okay, so did you use any of that money to catch up your child support with Mr.
Yes.
Batten?
Yes.
How much of it did you use to catch up?
I do not recall. Let's look back here. It doesn't show the most recent because I just sent him the other day as well.
So since November of this year, in November you paid him $500, correct?
Yes,
In December you paid him $250, correct?
that was November.
So you paid him $250 in November?
Yes, so November 8th, I paid him 500, and then November 15th, I paid 250. But I don't know what I paid him since then, but I know I paid more.
Did you pay another $800? Does that sound right?
Yes,
So of $15,000, you've paid him 15,
No, it was 16,000.
I'm sorry.
Wasn't it 16,000? If I
For
recall
the
looking, I looked at that, and I think it was
It was
16,000.
just shy, I think it was 15.8, something.
15, yeah, that's close enough to 16, yeah.
So for a back check for $15,800, you paid Brian, let's see, $1,550?
that sounds about
Paid him
right.
800, she said.
So why didn't you pay more than that when you got that big lump sum, knowing that you have so much arrears?
I wanted to pay off all the credit, so that way, when that's all gone, all the money that I make from there on out will continue to go to Brian
So
in
you-
higher amounts. That's why I was able to pay him 800 recently.
So you know that Brian's having financial struggles after the hurricane, right? Like his house had a tree fall on it, you're aware of that?
Yes,
And you're aware that for a couple of days he had to stay in his truck with his kids or camp out with his kids?
I didn't know till I got them.
And then you also know that he moved in with an in-law for a period, is that right?
I didn't know that he moved in with her until later.
Now, if you know that he's going through this and he's got your kids, why are you not using that money to make sure that he can help take care of them?
I did what I could. I was sending him, and I sent more than that too, I believe. I gotta look back at the records. But I had every intention of sending more. So I just got paid, and I wanted to send more. So I was able to send more. By the next paycheck, I intended to do a full payment because I wanted to get back on track. And I was already being called by the creditors, so
So you prioritize the creditors over your child support payment, correct?
yes, so that way that can stop and the money can just go to where it needs to go. Brian, rent, little Joey, groceries, just the essential things.
You don't think paying for your children is essential?
That is essential. That's why I was saying going to Brian and Joey.
You have one, and Joey's your husband, right?
Joey's my child.
Child, okay. How much does your husband make?
About 3,000 a month.
Now, earlier, just so I pulled this up, you have plaintiff's exhibit 2 up there?
Yes,
You may?
I'm showing, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 payments at $250 and $500 you mentioned, right?
right.
And then you said you paid just $800 earlier, right?
Yes, but I don't know if I paid any more between that time. 'Cause
Well,
I-
when's the last time you made a payment?
Pardon?
When's the last time you made a payment?
Just a couple days ago. But
And-
I don't know prior to that if I had given more. I cannot recall. I'm just always trying to give something when I can.
You filed this complaint for a modification of custody based off of your job allowing you to be home more. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you filed it, what change of circumstance with your boys did you see occur that made you feel like you needed to file that petition?
I hadn't seen them for 6 months because he prevented me from doing that.
Where were you living prior to that?
Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Well, we're in the Charlotte area. We live in South Carolina, right on the border.
And when did your job change to allow you to be at home more?
6 years ago?
You said prior to filing, how long had it been since you hadn't seen them?
Pardon?
You said prior to filing, how long had it been since you hadn't seen them?
Probably, well, wait, the filing was March?
Mhm.
So December 26th, we were supposed to pick him up, so December, January, February, March, pardon, 4. And then, oh, no, because I didn't get them till the temporary hearing, July, well, when was July? In July? So March, April, May, June, July, so almost 8 months.
So were you allowed to get visitation every other weekend during that time?
No,
You're only allowed,
Lights, rates, you're good from here. You don't, I mean, you're going to still hear everything right from here. It's awesome, awesome to see you.
summer visitation.
no, I was allowed every other weekend, sorry.
By the court order, you were given.
Yes, plus summer. But Brian was preventing me from having those visitations.
So after 2 or 3 months, you didn't want to file for a change? You didn't think that was a concern? You waited 8 months to file?
No, we filed prior to that. That's why we had the temporary hearing.
Actually, you only filed for modification of child support initially, correct? And then this year, you filed for modification of custody, correct?
I think so, but there was a issue with the office, a miscommunication. Because initially it was supposed to be just the custody modification.
On your call log, that's Plaintiff's Exhibit 5. It doesn't mention anything about seconds when it says minutes over to the right. Does it say anything about, does it list the seconds?
Probably not. No.
So if you had called for 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, it would show up as 1 minute, right?
No. Well, I don't know. Yes, but I normally just wait till the voicemail comes.
So there's no way of showing if you would just call for a second, hang up, call for a second, hang up.
If I called for a second hang up, I think it would show up as canceled. I think that happened once. But normally I wait till the voicemail, because I would like to try and leave a voicemail, but I can't do that because it's full.
You says it would show up as canceled if you just called and hang up.
I believe so.
Can you look anywhere on there and see if it says that?
Nowhere on there, but I think in our last temporary hearing, when we presented a different set of call records, it showed.
What is your work schedule like now that allows you to take care of freight and
Flexible. I can work 1 days, drop my trips, trade them for other trips. But with my seniority in line, I hold 1 days and all-nighters where I'm gone for at most maybe 8 hours. And a new contract with new rules.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may?
If you review the first few pages of that.
No, Lisi, Fozzie is definitely asleep right now.
The question is, while you're reviewing that, is in your petition for a modification, you didn't say anything relating to Brian withholding visitation from you in that petition, correct? It was only about your change of schedule of work, right? I'm asking about the modification, not the second part of your complaint. You want a map approach and show?
You may.
Repeat the question as well, please.
Where does the paragraph 10, that's your complaint for modification?
Okay. So we're referring to this page?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then what was the question again?
The paragraphs you listed,
Okay,
what were the change of circumstances that you listed for this modification?
I don't think I'm understanding your question.
When you filed the petition,
Right,
did you put the reason as you are a flight attendant and essentially your schedule has changed to allow you to be at home more and you're more flexible with your schedule?
I guess that's what the team and I did put in there.
Did you put anything in there about the kids being in harm or failing school or not attending school or around wrong people, anything like that?
Not that I see. But I've brought up in the past.
And other than cavities, you don't have, there's nothing saying that they're not taken care of well by Brian? You don't have anything to present to the court, they're not taken well care of by Brian?
Just from what I hear from the boys.
I couldn't hear that.
Just from what I hear from the boys.
Yeah.
And just from what I'm seeing.
So they've been with Brian for 5 years, right?
Yes.
And how many times would you go lengthy periods of time without seeing him? Or would you say that Brian wouldn't let you see him?
Every single person knows exactly what you meant.
There were a handful of times maybe when I couldn't see them due to my old work schedule. And then there'd be times when he would prevent me.
Context clues.
So you have a new husband and a child. You've started a new family, right?
I've grown my family.
Well, I'm saying like you have a husband and a child at your house, right?
Yes.
Do you know if Brian has started a new family or gotten a wife or a girlfriend? Are you aware of any of that?
Relevance.
No.
Is there a reason when you knew that he was struggling and you knew you owed him money, why you wouldn't try to give more or catch up on arrears? Is there a reason you prioritized credit card payments or other debts instead of giving money to the man who's watching your kids for most of the year? Explain to me why you prioritized your personal debts over money owed for your children.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. Shady went through this previously.
He's got it on cross-examination. I'll certainly allow him to have a thorough and sifting cross-examination. I'll overrule the objection.
The question again is, why would you prioritize payments of your personal debts over paying child support that's owed to your children?
Well, he wasn't answering the phone, one, and I just thought that was just the better idea, because I was like, if I pay all this off and then give him more money later, I can do this, and then continuously pay more with.
Okay. This is a modification hearing. This judge has been with these two for the divorce, for all of the custody hearings so far. He knows them both backwards and forwards by now.
Without having to worry about everything else and trying to figure out what to juggle. It was just a stressful time because we were also filing the emergency custody. So I guess it was just a quick thought that that was probably the best idea
I used to hate it when my husband would say he's babysitting the kids for me. He's babysitting the kids. No, you're not.
at the time.
So I think the word you used was those debts were the priority.
Not priority, it was just,
Just the ones you paid.
pardon?
Just the ones you paid.
Could you reiterate?
Those debts were the ones you paid, not your child support.
Yes.
Do you have any issues with their schooling, their attendance, anything like that?
In what regard?
Are they going to school?
From my understanding, yes, and then there's days where they do miss it. From whenever I do get a hold of them, they say, I didn't go to school today.
After the hurricane, you were worried about their well-being. Did you reach out to DFACS, or have you heard anything about DFACS being involved?
Yes, I think. Did I call them? I think I called the sheriff and maybe DFACS just because I didn't know what was going on. I hadn't heard from them, and I wasn't aware about the house situation until I picked them up for my visitation. And I think it had been a week at that time.
If your work schedule changes again, to have you put on your prior schedule, to where you're flying multiple days a week and you don't know what your schedule is, would you want to modify your custody again to give them back to Brian?
If it came down to that, but it won't because of our contract that's in place.
But you
And-
agree that you're,
If it does happen, then I'll adjust and leave the airline if necessary. That way I can care for them and still do what I need to do.
now why didn't you do that before now? If you're willing to do that now, how come you never did it beforehand?
I suggested that before, but at the time, that's what was most stable when everything was going on.
One moment, Your Honor. Oh, yes. You said he gave you one hard time about recently, since July. He gave you a hard time about picking up the kids. You got to get the sheriff because you're taking them to California
Yes,
for the
Because-
weekend?
yes. It was fall break. So it was about a week. So, but we only went for the weekend.
And you're aware, and you didn't tell him you were going to do that until you like got there, right?
Well, we weren't sure if we were going to because we were non-revving, which is standby.
This lawyer should not have brought this up, but it's okay because the other lawyer brings up stuff that he should never bring up.
On airlines, and I was still looking at the loads and making a determination and still talking with my parents. But my mom was under the impression that we were coming
And this was after you filed an emergency hearing, right?
before. Before? Was it before?
I guess I don't know the date that we're referring to.
No, it was before because I had just found out about the house situation
Well
maybe about
done,
a day or
Ardo.
two after I got them for fall break, and then we filed. So yeah, before the case filing.
And you're aware that Brian's worried about what your parents say to the kids when they're in California, right?
Yes, we've discussed that in past.
And you kind of popped that on him last minute, you didn't give him a heads up?
Give who a heads up?
Brian, you didn't give him a heads up beforehand, you said?
I don't think we had the opportunity. We had just got there. And then I called my parents because they hadn't talked to them in a couple weeks.
How do you plan on making up the arrears in this case?
Continue working. I'm putting in more hours as I have been this past year and trying to give him more And-
but in the last year, although you admit you're making more, you're still getting further behind.
Because I was still paying off all the credit cards too.
Well, I understand, but it's somewhat mystifying, it's mystifying to me that he makes less than half of what you make, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah, he makes less than half of what you make. Plus, you are married and have help with the household bills that you have, right?
Yes,
Right. And your husband makes more than Mr. Batten makes, right?
correct.
Right. And you complain because he's not been providing dental care. You come down here, take him to a dentist, get a dental plan, but you hadn't paid a dime to have any of that done, right?
I took out a,
Did you
But-
pay the dentist to do any of that work?
yes. I
You
took
paid the
out
dentist?
through a credit line that I opened at the dentist.
How much did you pay the dentist?
100
100, okay.
something?
You paid for the exam.
Yes.
You
just the
haven't
exam.
paid for the work to be done.
Oh, no,
No.
for the tooth fixing, no.
And you're expecting him to pay for what is all, in my experience, dental care, dental treatment's usually pretty expensive. You're expecting him to pay for all that, even though you're not even yet paying
I
the
wasn't,
full amount of your child support, even given your very significant income as compared to his. That doesn't sound unrealistic to you, that you're expecting him to pay for all that, even though you're not even paying what you're supposed to pay, even though your income is double what his is, and you have household help with paying the bills there. You don't see that disconnect?
I wasn't expecting him to pay anything. It was just an estimate of the total charges for their treatment.
Well, if you're complaining because he's not got the dental care done, and I get that, that's important. But knowing that you're not paying for that to be done, which is a part of your obligation, but you're not making your obligation, you don't see a disconnect there?
I do.
And is our child support worksheet from where her child support was initially calculated?
The original, it would be in the additional.
Let's see, I don't have a file.
It was Exhibit 1. It was in the exhibit that I provided.
And Your Honor, both were calculated at $2,600 a month at that time.
Well, that can't be. Well, I think the original order was based on the fact that she was underreporting income and underemployed. Because she only reported $2,600.
I believe the increase was due to a deviation related to childcare, is what it looks like.
Well, she admitted at the original hearing that she was underemployed, that she could have made more hours, but chose not to. I remember that, plus I've got notes that I've just referred to. But I guess that's a question I'll address later. If her income at that time was $2,600, and she was supposed to pay $1,000 a month child support, and now she's making $5,700, how she thinks she's entitled to a reduction when her income is more than doubled. That doesn't compute. That doesn't compute at all. Go ahead, Mr. Hart. Anything else you got?
Actually, I think I'll ask Mr. Batten.
Hold on. Not only is she not paying, but it gets worse.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything on redirect?
Just very briefly. Part of your original custody orders, there's a provision in there. Do you have that in front of you?
P1?
Yes. You will. And looking not at the flag page, but at the page before it, at the bottom in bold, I believe it says parents will consult together on all matters concerning the children. Is that correct?
Under rules of conduct?
No, that was the other people. This is a different set of people.
Page 7?
Page before.
Yes,
It says parents will consult together on all matters concerning the children. Correct?
correct.
So in those times where you did reach out to Mr. Batten to try to get information on the kids' records, their medical information, their school information, would your expectation have been that he cooperate and provide you that information?
He did not.
Which he did not do. Okay. Despite the fact that you guys are required to co-parent effectively together.
Yes.
And circling back on just some of the questions, looking back at your original petition for modification that was filed earlier this year, within that petition for modification, it also included a citation of contempt, correct?
Correct.
And that was for the failure to provide you access to the children.
Correct.
So at the same time as requesting a petition for modification, you also wanted to note to the court that there was an issue with your access to the children, hence the citation of contempt.
Yes.
And you had, just so I can make sure I clarify, your goal over the course of this year, and given the
I don't know if she is. Her household income right now is $9,000.
the back pay that you had received last month, you were using that to pay off the credit card debt that you currently had, correct? And is the intention to remove that debt so that way you have more available funds to provide to Mr. Batten
Yes.
for the purpose of child support?
Yes.
And then looking specifically at the issue with the incident where you were going to take the kids to California, that was during fall break, correct?
Correct.
And per the custody orders, you received the kids for the entirety of fall break this year.
She makes 5,000 something, and her husband makes 3,000 and something. It's a custody modification case. So they're already divorced. The custody agreement is already in place, and they're bringing it in front of the judge to modify it.
Yes.
And are there any restrictions in your custody orders on travel or
No.
where you're allowed to take them versus not take them?
No.
Okay. So you were trying to use them for your regular time as per the order, and you were not attempting to violate that in any way by taking them to California?
Correct.
And the original child support modification that was filed in September of 2020, correct?
Correct.
And that was due to you being furloughed from your job, which resulted in a significant change in your income,
Yes.
which has obviously changed since then.
Yes.
And so the proposed child support worksheet that we presented today is a reflection of your current incomes as well as any relevant deviations that would apply
Yes.
today, despite changes in income that you've had over the past few years.
Yes.
All right, that's all I have.
All right.
I'm sorry, I think I asked this, but, so your whole, the petition for modification is now based off of only him not allowing phone calls? Or can you explain again why you think custody should be taken away from him? Why it's in your children's best interest to be taken away from him and given to you?
And I hope you just heard that. She is bringing the modification to the court. She decided to bring this back in front of the court so she could get more relief.
he's really alienating me from their lives. So, like, I'll ask for sports schedules, for example, and he won't send them. Or I'll find out at the end of the season.
Court schedules,
Sports schedules,
sport.
or that he even signed them up, or their graduations from like kindergarten and first grade at those times. I asked about them. Obviously, it was COVID. And he was like, oh, they're not doing it anymore. And then I had some friends reach out saying, hey, are you going to come? And I said, Brian said it was canceled. And she goes, no, it's still going. And I called the school and they said, we never had any intent of canceling or anything. So there's event issues, just preventing information, telling me what I can and cannot do on my visitation. He gave me grief one time when he told me Bryson, or was it Braden? I think it was Braden, had an issue at school and he couldn't elaborate on it. And so I called the school just to get more information, and he found out because I texted him. I said, hey, I called the school, and he was like, how dare you go behind my back and do that? And I'm like, okay. Just their overall well-being, just from living with him, seeing the state of the house and everything, and the state of his cars, they're always filthy, so I always feel like the boys aren't kept when they're
She
with
has two
him.
kids, Bryson and Braden.
And just the overall control that he's trying to, use the kids against me or take away time from all of us. I don't know, and just really hurting us and the kids too, you can tell.
Have enough of the questions, John?
Redirect, all right?
Two
Please.
follow-ups.
Go ahead.
Just two follow-ups. Just hitting, you had mentioned that there have been issues with you trying to get information regarding the kids' extracurricular activities.
Yes,
And again, looking back at that original order, and one, that same page that I just had you read from, not the flag one, but the one before it.
okay.
Other information sharing provisions. Says the custodial parent shall promptly transmit to the non-custodial parent any information received concerning parent-teacher meetings, school club meetings, school programs, athletic schedules, and any other school activities in which the children may be engaged or interested. Is that right?
Correct,
And he's failed to do that, correct?
yes,
And as you just stated in your testimony, not only has he not provided you information, but there have been times where he actively lied to you and deceived you and told you information that he knew to not be correct.
yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Do I bring all this or leave it?
I guess you take it with you unless it's been admitted into evidence. You would take it with you. Call your next witness.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Hart?
I'll call Mr. Patton.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now and here be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please have a seat.
Brian, where do you currently reside?
117.
Could you provide that address?
Yes, absolutely.
How long have you been staying there for?
About 2 weeks.
And where is it located?
Right over here by the Wolf's house.
By the what house?
The big white house, Mr. Wolf's house.
Okay.
It's the same road right there.
After the hurricane, a tree fell on your residence, correct?
6 trees.
6 trees. Good. After that, what did you do for housing?
Well, I've been looking, but the price of rent is astronomical, and I did the best I could. I had to go stay with my mom so that they could have a room and a roof over their head.
For a couple of days, you were not staying with her.
Oh no, we camped a couple of times. I took the kids camping.
You didn't really want to stay with your mom, did you?
Not really. I'm 34 years old. It's kind of embarrassing.
Now, you saw that call log earlier, correct? Do you recall getting that many phone calls from her?
No, I don't. And she spoke of earlier, there being a different call log that they provided the last time we was here. And it showed more of what really is going on. This one was kind of, I don't know, it was different. It looked different. In fact, it had some of the information cut off on the side.
Was there a time that your phone did not operate?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There was multiple times my phone doesn't operate. The storm knocked out all the towers. I couldn't do nothing about that. As well as Verizon, I can go there right now and get a thing from them that says that, I've called trying to fix this whole phone issue thing, and they say that I'm in a quote, a serviceable area. Hold on. Dadgummit. I wrote it down right there. Basically, they can't guarantee me service, and that I could go get 100% refund from them, but they're all like that. So why would I do that?
Currently, you live here in Lyons, right?
I do.
Have you had any cell phone issues since then?
Oh, yeah.
But you have actually, there have been a few times where she called where you actually saw it and didn't pick up, right?
I would pick up, yes, absolutely.
But there were some times.
Fun fact, they live in Lyons. This courtroom is not in Lyons, but it shows up as Lyons. This courtroom is in Tomb. See, that's why it gets so confusing.
That you did not pick up, right?
Yes.
Um,
When we're eating, if we're doing something and the kids is running and playing, I don't really converse with her. I won't answer it. Now, when the kids is present and yes, I'll answer the phone.
Are you dating anybody right now?
No,
What do you do for fun?
I don't do anything for fun unless it's
Irrelevant.
with my kids. We do sports. We do most of the time shopping, unfortunately, because we got to go. It seems like every other day to the grocery store to get a little bit here, a little bit there. But I take them out to eat when I can. We go to the park. We do a lot of the park stuff and sports. That's fun for me.
What about when they're on their vacations? What do you do with them?
I'm depressed. Oh, when they're on their vacation, and I hardly ever have them on vacation. It seems like she gets all the whole summer. When I have them, it's on the grind. When she gets them, it's free time. I don't get to have fun with my kids in that sense.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a contractor, so I do like handyman stuff. Right now is a lot of storm cleanup.
So at least
We all love you.
well, it kicked
We
you out
all
of your
do.
house and made you lose a bunch, but it's been an opportunity for revenue. Is that?
Yes.
Well, if you're watching them, or who watches them after school for you?
I do that. I can't afford how can I pay somebody $400 or $500 a week to watch my kids? I can't do that.
So you can't work long hours.
No, I'm very limited.
How do you make a living when you can't work? But
It's very
school?
hard. It's very hard. I couldn't, even if I went to apply for a different job, I can't, they're not gonna hire me because of the short schedule.
If you heard her earlier testify, she owed you $36,000 in arrears.
If that calculation is including the adjustments that was made the last time we did that contempt hearing for child support, because it had gone up from 1,082 to 1,382 a month.
Just to correct, that was also including arrears. So based off the 19, but you agree with her statement that she owed you that much money?
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
What would you do with $36,000 for your kids?
The first thing would be go get a house and a piece of property so that my kids can have a place.
Because the current place you're staying, is that a rental or like a lease to own, or what is that situation?
It's a rental, but that's somebody's home that, yeah. It's a rental. It's not mine.
And is that from a friend?
Yes.
What's your long-term plan? Are you gonna try to buy that house or live?
I want to buy that house. And I don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. I know if that's a lot of money to.
Have you ever been worried about your kids' health while they've been with you?
I'm worried about my kids' health every day.
I mean, have you seen signs or like medical issues pop up that you hadn't
No.
treated?
And that whole tooth crack thing, if my kids was hurting, I would be the first to know. And I promise before God that not once has my child ever complained about a cracked tooth or a toothache or any of that stuff. That's not true.
The fall break trip to California, what was the difficulty there?
So when my kids come home from being with her and they say that their Lolo and Lola has been telling them that I'm a bad dad, okay, we was at the skating rink and the kids skate around the rink. It was bothering the youngest one, Bryson, so much that he'd go around a couple of rings and he'd come straight to me and say, "Dad, you're not a bad dad, are you?" And I'd say, "No, buddy, why you say that?" "You're not a bad dad, are you?" Then he'd go around a couple of times and he'd come back and say, "Dad, Lolo and Lola said that you're a bad dad and that you're teaching us bad things and that we can stay there forever if we want to and never come back here." When they said that the first time, I addressed it, or I let it go. The second time, I addressed it. The third time, I said, okay, and I told her, it's all recorded. I always call the sheriff's department when we meet because of this reason right here alone. I don't trust that she won't try to say that I've done something to her. Now we meet right here in front of this courthouse because it's audio and video recorded. That's been the same since day one. I've never changed that. I told her, I said, if the kids come back to me again and they say something like this, that they can stay there forever, that's it. Until I can get before Judge Reeves again, you will not be taking the kids anywhere. And not a single day has ever gone by that I've told her she couldn't see the kids. She just can't leave with them. There's a difference there, in my opinion. She can always see the kids, and it's on record that I've said that in messages, period, that she can see the kids. She just wasn't leaving with them until I could tell Judge Reeves what was being said. I don't trust that she won't take them over there to California, and then I got to try to get over there to fight a battle with no money. That's not.
Has she executed every one of her visitation schedules since the temporary order?
No, there's visitations that she does not show up. She doesn't come, and I let the sheriff's department know. I'm very anal with using.
Let's say OCD.
Oh well, it's records is what I think about it.
Have they fallen behind in school or anything?
Absolutely not.
Are they on track to graduate in time?
Yes.
In time?
Absolutely.
Have they ever had attendance issues?
Never.
Your dad is it true that your dad used to be the one who would help you with them,
Every day.
but he's since passed away?
Mm-hmm.
So now your help is limited, right? Can you verbalize that I'm sorry, dude.
What did you say?
Now, your mom, she's married to another man. Does he allow her to help you the way your dad helped you?
No.
So really, you depend on the child support.
Unfortunately, yes, I do.
Are they as wild as you were when we were kids?
Absolutely. Braden is. Bryson's more like her. He's kind of laid back, you know.
So they're a handful then.
Oh, yeah. 2 handfuls.
And you've been the primary custodian for how long?
Since they were born, man. I've always been there with them every single day. I've never walked away from them and would never.
Does it concern you that she now only wants to modify child or custody since her position with the airlines has changed?
Everything she does surprises me. When it comes to these kids, yes. I don't understand none of that. There's no way I could, I don't want to say nothing rude, but my kids are my whole world.
What are you going to do when they graduate?
I'm going to be in a mess. I might have to go live with them in their dorm.
I have no further questions, John.
You may cross-examine.
Mr. Batten, just to highlight a few things, I believe in your testimony you had stated that you are currently renting a place, right?
This does not go as well as he thinks it's going.
Yes.
And you've been doing that for about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, you had been living with your mom?
Yes.
And that was since the hurricane that occurred October,
Whatever date that was a blur.
somewhere around there.
September the 27th, I think, pretty close there too. Yeah.
At any point in your changing of locations, did you notify my client where y'all were staying?
It was notified right here in court, where we was at. It's on record.
How do you mean?
Because one, I always request that these hearings be recorded, and two, it was mentioned, it was brought up in court where they were staying.
Yeah,
Well,
what I'm referring to is the
last time we
changing.
were in court. What he's talking about is since we were in court back in July, or whenever it was, you've moved. You're now living, after the storm, you lived with your mama for a while, and now you've got a different place. He's asking if you notified her of that location.
I thought we was in court after the storm.
No, we haven't
don't
been in
think
court
so.
since July.
No?
No.
I mean, I've notified the lawyer. I try not to communicate with her very much. I mean, when it comes to legal stuff, I say talk to the lawyer.
But, so you've communicated, you have not communicated to my client at all where you and the boys have been staying over the past couple months?
I think I've emailed her. I'll have to check. I wasn't expecting to need to pull that up, but I'm pretty sure I've notified her in the email. Oh, yeah, I've told her. I told her that I was with my mama because we was on the phone one time talking about it. And I told her then that it was with the check with the lawyer. The
There's no
address,
record of that we have today.
I don't have it. Nope, not before me. But it happened.
You had also mentioned that, I think in your testimony, I think you had stated that she only gets them in the summer and on the holidays and gets to have all the fun. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
But I think also in your testimony, you had stated that y'all go to the park, you go skating, you do all these things. Is that not you guys having a good time?
Oh, yeah, for brief periods of, yeah.
And they also live with you primarily, and she only, per the court orders, is allowed to see them every other weekend, plus summer and holidays. So they're with you a majority of the time, correct?
When it's when it's on the grind, yes, I'm working or they're in school or, yeah, we very rarely get any, like, one-on-one time to do fun things, yes.
And I think you would also mention difficulty with your work schedule. And so what are your hours, just to clarify?
My hours change based on my kids. When their calendar changes, I flow with them. So if I got to be at the school at 3 o'clock to pick them up, that's my hours. I drop them off we're there pretty early. I drop them off. We're probably the first people to drop kids off in the mornings. So I'd say around 7:15 or something like that, 7:20 to 2:45, 3 something.
But their school hours don't change, is that right? Their school hours are set and they're pretty much the same.
I don't know, sometimes they change, like, they have early release day and stuff.
How often does that occur?
That's today, maybe? No?
How often on average does that occur? A couple times a month, once a week?
I don't know, that's hard to answer, the school. You'd have to refer to the school, I don't.
And when they have early release, how much of a change is that? Is it an hour? Is it 30 minutes? Is it multiple hours?
Again, you'd have to refer to It different. It differs. It's different.
You had also talked about the issues with, about her taking the kids to California, and I guess her parents maybe saying some things to the kids that you didn't like. And that as a result, you told her that she was not able to do that until we got before the court. Is that right?
After 3 warnings of that, yeah, I told her that she could come here and see the kids anytime she wanted to, and that I would even help out with that, but that she was not leaving with the kids because until I could see the judge.
But is there any order from the judge or any request by you for modification giving you that authority to do so?
I tried many times to get it brought before the judge, and it kept being postponed.
But the answer would be no, correct?
I don't know that because I could never see the judge to let him know what was going on. But there is an order that says that they're not supposed to be saying those things to my kids.
But there is no order from the court or request from you in any petition or motion.
The way it looks, the way I took it is the paperwork says that I'm responsible for their mental health and well-being. Their mental health would be me stepping in and saying something about that because that is very detrimental to their health, their mental health. When they're being told that their father is a bad father and teaching them bad things. So if I can't get before the judge and tell him, hey, this is happening, and I've told her and I've tried to call and reach them and they won't answer my phone calls because they don't want to talk to me about it, at some point in time I have to act. I have to say something.
But you never filed a petition with the court or a motion to modify
I
the
tried
ability
to.
to.
Let him finish his answer before you start answering. Let him finish the question.
Okay.
Let him finish his question before you start answering, okay?
Because right now, my understanding is per your custody orders, there's no restrictions on travel. Is that right? When it's her time, she can take them wherever. When it's your time, you can take them whenever. There's no restrictions on travel per your order. Is that correct?
That is correct, but we have to consult with each other over disagreements.
Correct. But nowhere in that order do you have the authority to unilaterally tell her when it is her time to have the kids, she can't take them somewhere.
Well, it states that if we confer with one another and there's a disagreement and it can't be settled between her and I with normal talks, that I have the tie-breaking authority.
That's on legal custody. You're correct on major decisions regarding education, healthcare, religion, and extracurriculars, but that's not related to travel, by my understanding. Is that correct?
That's not the way I take it, no, sir.
But you never filed anything with the court to adjust her ability to take them or not take them somewhere when it's her time.
So I have actually mentioned that to my attorneys, but
But was anything filed with this?
I'm
court?
not sure because Frank passed away, and there was something in motion during that time, and then that happened, and so I'm not sure what was filed and what wasn't in that time. I don't see anything on the documents, I guess.
So there is no court order whatsoever currently in place allowing you to restrict her travel with the kids.
Okay, I'll go with that.
And
Sleeping.
you were aware that my client, we filed a modification of child support in September of 2020, correct?
One more time.
Were you aware that we filed a modification of child support in September of 2020,
That's the one that I see, then yes.
the original modification? Were you aware that that was due to her being furloughed from her job?
I was kind of confused on exactly what it was for.
So you knew that she was asking for a child support modification, correct?
Well, that's what that means, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so then,
You were aware of that?
yeah.
Okay. But you weren't willing to allow that?
That's not true at all. There was a lot of time that allotted that I didn't force that or press the issue of her not paying. In fact, I tried to be very lenient when it come to that, even though I was falling further and further and further and further behind in my bills. In fact, I mentioned that in court that day when we were sitting here that I was already burning up my savings.
So, just to clarify, so you were okay with the modification of child support, or you were not?
I didn't file the modification of child support on her behalf, so
No,
no,
I understand.
I didn't have anything to do with that.
I understand. I'm saying she asked for a child support modification. You could consent to one, you could agree to one.
I don't do anything outside of my lawyers
But what was your position, is what I'm asking.
to confer with my lawyers.
You didn't know what you wanted?
I was gonna talk to my lawyer first and see what's going on because I don't make decisions like that without my lawyer being consulting.
Mr. Patton, I'm just trying to understand, did you want to agree to a child support modification or not?
Objection, asked and answered, Your Honor.
I'm not really getting an answer. He's just saying, I wanted to confer with my lawyers. I'm just asking.
I'll overrule the objection.
I'm asking what your position was when she filed the modification for child support. Were you willing to agree to that or not?
If you're Judge Reese, how do you feel about this question this attorney is asking? The father's answer is awesome, guys. It's awesome.
Are you asking me to take to even more burden upon myself financially than I already was and thinking that I would be for that? Is that what you're asking?
That's what he's asking you, yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, then no, I would not want that to happen.
Thank you. And that was, but you were aware that she had lost her job, correct?
She lost her job?
Or she was furloughed from her job, I'm sorry.
There was a lot going on in that time. I don't think that I was actually aware of anything that she had going on.
And so eventually in November of 2021, you had filed a contempt for arrearage on the child support, correct?
I did.
And at the time, I believe the arrearage was just over 17,000.
Probably something like that, yeah.
And you agree based on, I believe, some of the exhibits that have been presented, and I think your attorney showed you during examination, she's obviously contributed to you financially, just not the full amount, correct?
Oh, yeah, she's given stuff. She's given some.
And in fact, per the exhibit, I believe it was Exhibit 2, was around $36,000 that she has given.
If that's what it shows, I don't,
And are you currently, or I'm sorry, has the court or our office been provided any information as to your income or what you do for work?
Did you request it? Because I don't send out the documents and stuff, but I have answered those questions and provided documentation.
Well, we have a child support modification that's pending. And we don't have a financial affidavit, we don't have pay stubs, we don't have
I'm sorry, but I'm not my lawyer, so I don't know that. I don't send out the,
information to your lawyer?
oh, yeah. It's here. I mean, it's on some of this paperwork now.
Have you provided any of that information to my client?
I've provided stuff legally to my lawyer.
And you had stated, I believe in some of the exhibits that we had shown previously, that there were issues with your phone bill being cut off because you couldn't afford it. Is that right?
That's correct. And for some reason, it's not in the text messages that she has, or emails that y'all have used, today, but I've actually told her that I have to choose the most important things, and when it becomes, when it comes to money and financial and my kids, I have to choose where the money goes carefully. And the cell phone was not one of them when I'm having to pay for the food and the rent and stuff like that. Try to find a place to live and fuel and clothes. We lost everything in a hurricane, so I've had to replace everything that we had.
Just give you a copy of Petitioner's Exhibit 7. It's already been admitted by the court. And on that first page, it shows a text message from you it's dated August 28th. And it says, I was finally able to pay some on the phone, already another month due, so not sure how long it will be before it's cut off again.
Correct.
So that was at the end of August. That was before the hurricane, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. You said September was the hurricane, so yeah, I guess so it was.
So you've been having issues with covering your bills before that?
Well, yeah, I imagine so.
And you were also aware from either past discussions with my client or at least from the testimony today that the boys were in need of some dental care. Is that right?
Say that one more time. How did you word that?
Were you aware prior to today that the boys were in need of dental care?
When when she took them there to that dentist, whatever it was called.
I'm sorry. So
That's when I found out.
because she told you?
Yes.
Okay. And you were aware that they needed an extensive amount of care. I believe the quote was for, looks like 4,700 for one child and 5,200 for the other.
So I would have to get a second opinion on that. I don't believe that that's an accurate accounting of what's going on in their mouth.
Okay. Have you taken them to a dentist to get that second account or that second opinion?
I would have definitely taken them to the dentist if I had the financials to take them to the dentist and pay that kind of money to get, if there was something like that done.
But seeing as though you haven't done that, this is the only opinion that you have as of now, correct?
As of right now, yeah, I would go get a second opinion from their dentist.
Do they have a dentist? Have they been to the dentist since you got custody of them?
Sir?
Do they have a dentist? In other words, have you been to the dentist, taken them to the dentist since you have had custody of them, since y'all went to court?
Should I start buffering my video so Bill thinks his internet is playing up? Oh, Bill, I feel so bad about your internet. I would be crazy right now.
I think there's been once or twice that I've taken them to the dentist. Dentist kind of falls short, in my opinion, of doctor that you need to go to just for the fact that we take care of our teeth. We brush our teeth and do that kind of stuff.
Kids are still gonna get cavities. They're gonna eat candy, they're gonna do all the stuff, all that. They're gonna get cavities that need to be taken care of at some point in time.
Yeah, I see that. I understand that.
I understand.
I just had a different feeling on that.
I understand.
I feel like a dentist is kind of a, I got a toothache, let me go to the dentist.
Yeah,
type
I
thing.
got you. I understand. Thank you. Go ahead.
So you were aware that, so we've already established you were having issues paying your phone bill. We know that the kids needed some level of dental care. I guess the cost is flexible depending on what opinion you get, but based on the opinion that we have that was gotten for the children, we're talking about almost 10 grand in care needed. I just want to clarify, I just provided you with Petitioner's Exhibit 12, and it looks like that's a post from you looking to buy land. Is that correct?
Yeah, looks like that's me trying to find some land.
So we can't afford the phone bill to make sure that kids can talk to their mom, can't get them dental care, but we can buy land.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. A place to live is probably above phone bill, in my opinion. So yes, sir, that would be correct.
You not already have a place to live?
As of 2 weeks ago? Yeah, we do.
Well, this looks a little older. I don't have a date on this post, but it looks like,
It says July 8th.
okay, so that was well before the hurricane. You had a place to live at that point, is my understanding. Yes?
I'm confused, yeah, probably, yeah, July 8th, yeah.
So there wasn't an issue with where you were living? 'Cause the
Yeah, there's been
hurricane
an
hadn't
issue.
happened.
There's been an issue of where I was living.
What's the issue with where you were living?
But there's always been an issue when if I don't have a home to call mine, then yeah, there's an issue with living. Me wanting to better myself and my kids, I don't think is an issue.
So what was the issue with the home you were living in that prompted you to supposedly need to buy land?
I wanted my own home for my kids, something for me and my kids to live in and call home. The place that we was in was my granny's place.
Were you paying rent there?
Yes.
So she owned it?
That was short term and I knew that.
Okay.
She was only helping me out while I was in this.
Okay. And in the meantime, you wanted to use those funds to buy land and pay for, or I'm sorry, to buy land and not get dental care and pay for the phone.
I feel like that, so how I'll answer that is, I said it at the beginning that I would have taken my kids, we would have, you gotta understand that insurance is not cheap. And she was ordered to be paying child support to help me pay that, and she wasn't for a long period of time. So had there been that problem not in the picture, there would have been no problem with going to the dentist. There would have been none of that if a problem had arisen. Now, it's the way it sits, you know, if it's all coming out
Go
of my
to
pocket.
bed.
And we recognize that obviously she's under a child support order and there have been issues with getting all that payment, but you're also not required to provide for them financially as well, yes?
I'm sorry?
Are you also not required to provide for your sons financially in addition to the child support?
I do every day. Who else would?
But then how do you explain these deficiencies?
What deficiencies?
Not being able to pay for a phone, not being able to get them dental care?
I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, a phone is a luxury. That's not a necessity.
Correct.
I can pick up any phone right now, whether it's connected to and this is a decision that I made. I can pick up any phone, whether it's connected to Verizon or AT&T or anything right now, and dial 911 on it, and it will call the emergency services.
She can easily get her children phones, put them on her plan, give them the phones.
Correct, but my client's entitled to speak to your sons every day,
Well,
per your court orders.
yeah.
So is it not your responsibility to allow for a way to do that?
Financially able, I would do that.
But you have not prioritized that. Is that correct?
I've had to prioritize necessities over luxuries. Correct, yeah.
Your Honor, I would like to admit Exhibit 12 at this time.
Like to do what?
I would like to admit Exhibit 12.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Ladies, this man is single. I agree.
Do you recall the temporary hearing that we had back in July?
I agree.
I'm sorry, I was reading this. What'd you say?
Do you recall the temporary hearing that we had back in July?
Well, yes, I was here.
And do you recall the order that found you in contempt, though not willful, for failure to follow the terms of the custody order?
I'm sorry, I
you're
heard
not.
something different that day when we was in here. I believe he said that you didn't file a contempt on me.
You'll flip to the second page of that for me, under where it says contempt.
Well, first, I would address the date. This was done August 9th, 2024. When was the temporary hearing?
If you look at the second paragraph, it says the parties came before this court on July 18th.
19th.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Don't
We
keep
came
here
before
in
this court in July.
Don't keep here in July. The order was entered in August. Did find that you were in contempt for not allowing visitation and ordered you to do that. It sounds like you have done that.
Oh, yeah,
With
I
the
did.
exception of a couple of disagreements.
I'll take that, yeah.
And speaking specifically to the phone log and the issues that we've had there, I believe you had mentioned in your testimony prior that there may have been some times where you didn't answer the phone.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And I mentioned those scenarios.
Looking at this phone log, though, I mean, looks like she tries to call them every single day, and she talks to them maybe once a week, if that. So she calls you every day, looks like at different times, to try to get you at different times. Looks like almost 6, 7. She does it between the hours that are per the court order, multiple times. And you don't answer or call her back?
I mean, I see all these, but I can't help if my phone doesn't get some of these phone calls. There's text messages in that paper that I was surprised to have seen. So, there are times that I don't answer the phone when it's ringing, and that's if we're in the middle of eating or if the kids are not around me.
But you do recognize that she has allowed that contact for your court orders, yes?
He clearly just got on him for trying to buy a place to live and said he should have gotten a phone instead.
Yeah, I know that's what the paper says.
Okay. Do you not feel that she's entitled to that?
I feel like she's entitled to that.
Okay. Can you explain why she doesn't receive it then?
I can't help if the phone doesn't ring on my end.
So you're saying she calls you and it,
Variable service, that's what it's called. Verizon has told me that I'm in a variable service location and that they cannot guarantee me service. I've addressed this with them multiple times. I cannot help if my phone doesn't ring, and the times that I do not answer the phone is if we're in the middle of eating. That's family dinner time.
do you have internet at your
If
house?
the kids are not there. No, I do not have the internet at my house.
So you're not able to do calls over Wi-Fi or anything like that as
No,
well?
sir.
And I believe there was previous testimony stated that she's unable to even leave you a voicemail because it's full. Is that right?
I have no clue.
And so the issue when, during the hurricane, I believe you would say your testimony was that 6 trees had fallen on the house. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you and the boys immediately leave the home, or what was your reaction?
So for a little while there, I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, I can build a house by myself. So when trees fell on the house, I wasn't sure if I was going to be fixed.
Hold on 1 second, please.
While there, I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, I can build a house by myself. So when trees fell on the house, I wasn't sure if I was going to be fixing the house or if I had to leave. There was the storm stuff, cleanup going on. Everything kind of come to a standstill for a while. So we camped out. I convinced my kids that we was camping. I mean, there's no need to scare them and make them feel, kind of uneasy. So camping was fun to them.
So describe what you mean by camping.
We would sleep in the truck and be at the house. I mean, just not in the house because I don't want my kids inside of a structure with 6 trees on it.
So you and your kids were sleeping in your truck.
Yeah,
And as a result of my client finding this out, she filed an emergency motion for modification, correct?
yeah, but that's what she says, yeah.
Did you not feel it was appropriate that if you're living in your kids with a car, or I'm sorry, living in a car with your kids, it might be more appropriate for at least on a temporary basis for them to be with their mom in a home?
If it would have been something long-term, yeah, but no, because I'm perfectly fine, capable of taking care of my kids.
But you had just stated that you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know what your plans were long-term.
Exactly. And if I had come to the conclusion that it would have been something long-term, then I would have addressed it with her. Or found something suitable for them here.
But immediately when you have nowhere to live, and you are living in a car with your 8 and 10-year-old, you
8
thought it
and
was
10.
acceptable for them to reside in a vehicle as opposed to with their mom in a home.
For a couple of nights, yes. I seen
So,
no problem with that. And then once it became clear that it was going to be long-term,
We're watching Judge Reese, remember? He has stuff to say about that, don't worry.
I went and lived with my mother.
How long after the hurricane, when you guys lost the home, did you move in with your mom?
I mean, it was a few days. It's not long. I had to wait and get word from the inspector. Never showed up it took him a while, seemed like, to get there.
I would also like to point out, I'm looking back at the response, though, that was filed to our emergency motion.
I'm just thankful his lawyer is quiet. Wait till you hear the closing arguments.
Your attorney filed an answer, and in that, you denied all those claims. Did you not? About where you were residing?
So wording, I guess, was that I was living in my truck, right? That was a temporary thing. And by the time I had got that information, I was already moved in with my mom.
Quoting from my client's emergency motion, at the time, she became aware of the fact that respondent and the minor children are effectively homeless and living at a respondent's vehicle. Your response to that was denied. Was that not the case?
I
You did
was
not
like,
have a home.
I'm pretty sure I just addressed this.
You were homeless, were you not? Your home was destroyed, and for at least a temporary period, you were living out of your vehicle.
Camping, yeah.
Thank you. So then why
Just
did you
addressed
deny
it
that in
like
your
4 times.
answer to the motion?
Your time limit there, sir. So by the time that was mentioned, I had already been moving in with my mom. I had started salvaging what I could out of the home and moved in with my mom.
But at no point you thought it would be best to have a discussion at least about
No.
what was best for the children and their care
I
during this
didn't.
time.
I didn't feel that need at all, no, sir.
And is it not true that my client has asked you over the past few months where you've resided?
She's asked me once or twice, maybe twice, and I told her, I've already told, you know where we're staying. I've told the lawyer. It was, and I've emailed her. I know that there's an email with that information.
But you don't have that today.
I don't think y'all do either, though. So no, sir, I do not have that
Well, I'm
today.
not the one making the claim. You say you've made the statement.
If
I'm
you give me
asking
a minute, I could probably get it, but no, I don't have it today.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, until you stated your address here in open court, she did not have that information.
I don't know that she didn't have that information. I utilize my lawyer very heavily to protect myself.
I understand that, but per your order, you two have a responsibility to co-parent these children, correct?
We do when it comes, yeah.
Okay. Do you not feel it's your responsibility to cooperate and provide information to each other?
I would not withhold information from her.
But you have. You've stated you have not given her your address. You've not given her.
No, I didn't say I failed to give the information. I said I failed to give it directly to her. I give it through the lawyer.
What's the issue with giving it to her?
I've already mentioned that.
Can you restate it?
I depend on my lawyer to do the communication when it is something legal, right? When it's something that's legal, I depend on my lawyer.
All right. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Brief follow-up.
All right.
When you were looking to buy an acre, did you have $10,000 cash on hand?
At the time, I had close to it, but not all of it.
What was that from?
So my dad left me a little bit when he passed away, and I had sold some stuff to get it.
And since then, do you still have that money sitting around?
Not really. No, I don't.
You've had attorney's fees and whatnot eating that a little bit.
Absolutely. Every time I turn around.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
That call log they mentioned earlier, that's Plan Exhibit 5. Can you look at the dates between September and November? What is the last call date in September that you see?
The last in September
Yeah.
would be the 11th.
Guys, he's not the star of this show. The judge is the star of this show. Just wait.
And then she didn't call again until when?
October 2nd.
So she didn't call you a bunch around the hurricane time?
No.
Your Honor, may I approach?
May.
Okay. Plan Exhibit 7. Can you look at the last text from September? What date is that?
September.
It's at the very top.
7th, yep, sorry.
September 7th. And when did she text you again?
October 7th, so a month.
So she didn't have you didn't get a bunch of phone calls or messages or anything from her around that time?
No,
Not right after the hurricane?
no.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything on Riri Cross?
No, Your Honor, I don't believe so.
All right, you may step down. Call your next witness.
Oh, we have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Anything in rebuttal?
No.
All right. All right, tell me what the modification action for child support that was filed back in 2020, I think y'all said, right?
Correct.
Was there a hearing held on that, or it just never was followed up on?
There was no, I think because it was during the pandemic, it was September of 2020. I think things were put on hold for a significant period of time.
Who filed that? Who's the attorney who filed that?
It was our office.
Okay.
And so, but I believe that because there then became an additional case, the contempt was then filed in 2021, and so then I think,
I don't think so. No, I don't, guys. I don't think so. You don't understand. Maybe some of you understand. When the hurricane hit, there was no phone service. You couldn't call anybody. Nobody's phone worked. So we don't know if what she tried to do to make sure her children were okay. We have no idea.
the court kind of moved forward with the contempts, and I think the child support modification just kind of got lost in the mix. So there was never a hearing or an order entered on that case, but it is still active and obviously is related to everything
Okay.
else.
All right, so we just need to enter an order in that case. Obviously, all of that's changed dramatically since then,
Circumstances, sure.
and it's pretty much a moot issue. Have a child support worksheet that basically keeps the child support the same, even though her income is doubled. I'm assuming that it's taken out whatever deviation was included in the original child support order and added in that she has another child. Now, of course, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The proposed child support worksheet reflects the current income that we have for both parties, and it includes 2 deviations, one for the third child, as well as the cost of health insurance.
Which has not started yet.
It starts January 1st.
All right, do they have any health insurance at this point? I doubt it. If you're not, has she not provided that previously when she was with, she was with US Air or United or,
Yeah, correct.
has she not provided health insurance before?
She was not prior, but she will be starting the 1st. They were on state insurance until,
Are they, okay, are they still on Peach Care or?
I made sure they had some kind of insurance, yes, sir, and they have a plan that starts January whatever, 1st, whenever the enrollment period thing is.
What kind of plan are you talking about?
It's with Blue Cross Blue Shield
That she's gonna provide or that you
No.
have?
that I have.
How do you have that?
I called and set it up when I started making, it ain't been too long ago.
Well, y'all don't both need to have them insured because they're not gonna both pay. I can assure you of that. They're
we don't
gonna,
have any information on.
well, apparently she didn't share with him that she was putting them on her insurance either.
Nope, she did not.
Yeah. How much is yours supposed, if you cover them with Blue Cross Blue Shield and not a group plan, what is that gonna cost?
It's about $600 and something.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's gonna be, what has prompted you to do that now as compared to,
I had it for a long time, but I couldn't keep carrying the whole load. I was paying all of that and some, everything else, and
all right, well, it may make sense, and y'all need to look at it. It may make sense for you to cancel that. If she's gonna have them on her group plan at only $244 a month, obviously she can get that a lot cheaper than you can because she's got a family group plan, and it's a lot cheaper to add children to a family group plan than it is to have a standalone health care. Now, I don't know about your own health care. Is that gonna include you as well, or?
It's gonna be me too, yeah.
Okay, well, that's another issue you're gonna have to look at is, okay, what would it cost you to have your own without having them included?
I believe the cost, for my client, it was based on her group plan, it's $122 per person. So for the two boys, it's $244 per month.
Yeah,
And so that
y'all need to
deviation
look
is
at that and
included.
figure out what's best to do overall for insurance. All right. Argument?
I mean, I know we've heard a lot of testimony here, Your Honor. The thing that I just want to reiterate is, I think it's quite clear that we have issues of contempt from
Both of these closing arguments are hard to sit through, guys, but don't worry, they're not very long.
both sides. Obviously, there's arrearage for my client on the child support, but I think we also have a fairly significant amount of issues with my client having access to her kids. I think the difference being my client's at least making an attempt by paying what she can, paying off her credit card bills so that way she has more funds accessible to her, so that way she can provide more funds in the future, and is given almost $36,000 and is continuing to give funds on a monthly basis when she has more funds available.
Counsel, you need to address, for instance, she's supposed to be paying $1,000 a month.
Correct.
In July of 23, she paid $400. We're not talking about 2020 now when she was furloughed. We're talking about 23.
Right.
In September, she paid $600. In October, she paid a total of $300. In November, she paid a total of $400. In December, she apparently paid a total of $365. In January, she paid the total of $1,000, $20. $20 to support two children. I mean, she's making $5,700 a month. $20. In February, she paid about $400. March, $450. May, $450. Well, maybe $500. But July, while she was, was it 24 she went to the dentist, or was that 23?
24.
24, she's expecting him to pay $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in dental care that she's gone and paid to get an evaluation for, and in July of 2024, she paid a total of $300. Although she was supposed to be paying over $1,000 plus $300 on the arrearage. In August of 2024, making $5,700 a month, she paid $60. $60. And you're telling me she's doing the best that she can?
I think the
If I had a nickel for every time I said that.
fluctuations in what she's paid have just reflected the circumstances. I think
So what circumstances?
well, specifically in the January issue, I think where you had mentioned $20, she was injured on the job and wasn't able to work for a period.
And she was injured on her job as a flight attendant. She was getting one heck of a check from somebody for workers' comp or whatever other kind of insurance that American Airlines has. Don't try to.
I just know that it was adjusted.
I wasn't born yesterday, okay? Plus, the most glaring problem is she's got a $37,000 deficiency. She got a $16,000 check, almost $15,800 for a back pay that she should have gotten over the months or years, whatever it was, and she did not pay that directly to him to go on the arrearage. That, the credit cards will take monthly payments. If she had put that on the arrearage, this court be sitting here impressed that she gave that $16,000 to him toward the arrearage. She paid none of that on the arrearage, and in November and December of this year, after she got that check, she still didn't even pay the full amount of the child support that she's supposed to be paying.
Correct. What I would point out, Your Honor, is she didn't receive the full amount of that 16,000 after taxes and everything. I believe what she received was closer to 8, because again, that was a gross accounting, was that 16,000.
So she didn't give him the 8 either.
Understood, but again, I know that the priority was to get rid of the credit card debt. So that was.
Rather than feeding her children
Well, I would.
or getting their teeth fixed. Apparently she wasn't too concerned about their teeth getting fixed, so she could have said, here's $8,000, take them to the dentist and get their teeth fixed.
Well, I don't believe the contention was ever for Mr. Batten to pay that all on his own. I'm sure the purpose was for them to handle it collectively, but she took it upon herself to get at least for them to get an exam, which he did not do, when they obviously had issues, an extensive amount of issues by the exam that was done. She took it upon herself to get that looked into, and I don't believe there was ever a contention made that Mr. Batten be solely responsible for those finances on his own. But I believe at least the initiative was taken by her to get that care.
Well, where's the text message or email from her to him saying, okay, I've taken him to the dentist, it's gonna cost this much money, I'll put in X number of dollars, I'll pay half, I'll pay 2/3 based on our relative income, I'll pay where's that evidence?
Well, Your Honor, if he would ever pick up the phone when she calls.
Well, where is the text message or the email where she said to him, here's what it's gonna cost, I'll pay 2/3, or I'll pay half, or I'll pay whatever? I've not seen it.
Well, I believe her testimony was that she had made an appointment for them to get the care and he canceled it. I believe that was her
Yeah,
testimony.
for him to pay for it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, there was no, I don't,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying, the cost of it is irrelevant if he's not gonna take them to get the care in the first place. I think, again, she's the one making the initiative to get them the care that they need.
To get an
don't,
evaluation to use in court to try to get custody, but not an evaluation for her to pay her share, counsel. Let's be honest.
again, what I would say though is, I think the comment made about her not wanting to pay for food for her kids, when she is contributing not everything that the court has ordered, which I completely recognize and agree.
$20 in 1 month, that's 2 Happy Meals.
I understand, but again,
Guys, this isn't the good part. None of this is the good part.
and with this back paycheck that was received, again, I believe she only received around $8,000. The point being to get rid of the credit card debt so there were more funds available.
Anything else?
And again, as the court's order states, a lack of paying the child support does not allow him to deny her visitation and custody. And so our biggest point is, regardless, those are 2 separate issues that are both valid. Not saying that any one is lesser than the other, but while she's at least contributing, or at least trying to, he's still denying her visitation and custody for what we don't know. His excuse was, I do everything through my lawyers. But also, he's got a court order that says she gets to talk to these kids every day. She gets them every other weekend. She gets them for holidays. She gets them for summer. And he's just said,
Well, the testimony is since July, he has not denied her visitation.
for
That
the
she
month
did
of
not
November.
that according to her and to him, she admitted that at least one of those visitations, maybe 2, she didn't come. That
I say
she
that
did
too.
come on Thanksgiving, but that was his weekend because the holiday schedule takes precedent over every other weekend. She didn't bother to check the court order to see that that was specified for him in an even numbered year, that this was his year to have the full Thanksgiving holidays from the day the kids, I went to the trouble of looking in the order.
Correct.
From the day they get out of school to the day they go back to school, that was his time, and that takes precedence over weekend visitation. So she didn't get that.
Correct.
She did get the fall break. She had to negotiate some because he was concerned about her going to California, but she did finally get the visitation there. So the testimony is that he's not denied her visitation since July, when I held him in contempt for not observing visitation. He has followed the order since then, and she has not.
I don't believe that's correct, because I believe her testimony was in the weeks prior to Thanksgiving. She did not get her regular visitation.
Well, because of the storm, and then they talked back and forth, and she said, okay, yeah, I won't come that weekend, and then I'll come another weekend. That was her testimony.
Correct. And so, again, I think the fact that I agree that she has received more visitation than she certainly was receiving in the years prior to the temporary hearing. But again, Mr. Batten has still continued to show, I think the fact that she has to negotiate 2 hours with law enforcement just to get her kids per a court order because he's not letting her have them, number one, is not in compliance with the order, even though he eventually turned them over to her. She shouldn't have to argue
That's
2
true.
hours with
Thank
law
you,
enforcement
Fuzzy.
to get her kids. She shouldn't have to go X amount of time without talking to them when she's allowed to talk to them every single day per this court order after she's made attempts to talk to them every single day per this court order. And he's either not letting her talk to them, can't afford his phone bill, or whatever reason, he's just not letting her do it. And so I think it's just as much a disregard on his part to just, he knows what the court order says, and he knows he's not letting her have the time.
Thank you. Mr. Hart?
Thank you, Your Honor. Related to the modification of custody,
Guys, I am so sorry about this next few minutes. I just wish, I'm sorry.
I think, based off her petition and what she said, this modification stemmed when they filed it back in April is what accommodates her job. This whole issue of why she initially didn't get them was related to her job and her schedule, but now her schedule is more lenient or flexible, and so that's why she's filed it. I haven't asked her if her schedule changed again to where it wasn't flexible, would she agree to send them back to Brian? And she said, well, if that's what it calls for, if that's what we need to do. She's paying credit cards above taking care of her kids. Is having a hard time even paying for a cell phone, finding his kids a decent place to live because he ran out of money, having to live with his mom for a few months to save money to then finally find something a week or so ago. If she cared about her kids, she wouldn't create a strain on where they live when she got all that money and didn't try to help him get a place. She says initially, Your Honor's aware how this hurricane hit us and how it put out a lot of people. The expectation was him just to send the kids up to her, like maybe change custody there, but the school shut down for a little while. We're not supposed to just take kids out of school, remove them, especially if they're potentially coming back. So him taking that time, I don't think should be held against him, and I don't think Your Honor will hold it against him. So many of the issues they allege are the cause for their petitions for contempt, for modification of custody. They wouldn't happen if she paid her child support. He wouldn't have to save up money for a couple of months to find a new place to rent. He wouldn't have issues with paying a cell phone because she's not giving him money. That's like the doctrine of unclean hands, is causing the issue and then trying to use it against him. That's not fair. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he's turned out to be as good of a dad as he is because we were both little hellions, but I'm proud of him. And I think he's done everything right. He can't work the way a man wants to work. Long hours, like he said, to make more money because he's got to pick his kids up to and from school. The person who helped him out, his dad, died. Left him a little bit of money, tried to help out. He tried to use what his dad gave him to find something. But that gets eaten up. $10,000 does not go far like it used to, especially over the course of 5 months when you're getting $50, $100, $200 a month from somebody who makes $5,700 a month. The man can't date. He can't do anything. He loses them during the summer so she can have the fun time to go take him places. He doesn't even get that. Honestly, I don't even know if he'd have money to do it because he's not getting any sports. So maybe that's the way it's going. Maybe that's good for him to have that experience. But I think, Your Honor, it's got to be bad faith contempt or willful contempt when she gets all that money and puts it to credit cards. When on her financial statement, she's got a 2017 Range Rover worth $42,000 or $48,000 in equity. I've never even owned a car with that much equity in it. And she's not using anything to pay child support. She can pay for her luxuries, she can pay for her personal debts, but she's not going to take care of these kids. This is entirely her trying to stop paying Brian or Mr. Batten. So we'd ask that willful contempt be found, that she'd have to pay a purge payment, that a modification of custody not happen except for where Your Honor might give Brian a couple of weeks in the summer. He needs some sort of time with the kids. And most important thing is I realized, I just got this. right after the hurricane, she didn't reach out to the kids with him like for weeks. There was no phone calls about that. She wasn't concerned. She was trying to get information about his struggles and use it against him. This woman has never cared about these kids. She doesn't care now. She just doesn't want to pay Brian this money. So it should be found in willful contempt that he not be, that if any modification happens on custody, it just gives him some time during the summer. She does well, so we know that they probably enjoy some summer with her because she saves it for herself. But beyond that, Your Honor, we'd ask that you find with us on the contempt, against them in their contempt, against them in their modification of child support, even though she makes substantially more now, and for us in the modification of custody. Thank you.
Dude, that was bad, sir. that was painful to listen to, sir. Guys, are you ready? Okay, now the stream begins, and it takes a little bit to boil. All right, give it time. Oh my God, here we go.
He does get, I don't want to check that summer out, but he gets
2 weeks, I believe.
2 weeks in the summer. He gets the week of Father's Day from Friday prior to Father's Day at 6 o'clock until the next Friday after Father's Day at 6 o'clock. So he gets a week there in the summer.
That's on me, Your Honor. I read it as Father's Day and 4th of July for some reason.
So you now?
I read it as just the 4th of July.
Yeah,
Father's
you know,
Day.
but he gets a week at Father's Day, and then he gets another week, from the week of whatever the 4th of July falls in, from Sunday at 6 o'clock of that week through Sunday at 6 o'clock the next week. So he gets 2 weeks in the summer.
My notes just said July 4th. Father's
I understand.
Day, so messed that
Yeah,
up. I'm sorry.
you just misread the paragraph. Okay, I didn't think I would have done that where he got nothing in the summer. I think I gave him 2 weeks in the summer, and sure enough, I did. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
so he gets that during the summer. So that's, he gets the time there. He can go to take him to Disney World or to the beach or wherever, go camp out at the beach. Get you a tent. Ain't nothing wrong with tents and nothing wrong with sleeping in tents. My boys were the age of your boys. We did that a lot of weekends and trips and so forth, in the mountains or the beach. We slept in tents and it was fun. So, you know, it's a good way to do things and it's a lot cheaper. But, whatever he wants to do there. So he's got that. Now, we are gonna make, at least one other modification. Calling every day is excessive. That must be something they agreed to, because don't think I would have independently ordered that. She'll have a right to call them on Wednesdays between 7 and 8. I'm assuming you eat supper before 7.
Try to, yes,
Most
sir.
folks with younger children, as you get them out of school and so forth. So she can call them on Wednesdays between 7 and 8, and on Sundays, when it's not her weekend, between 7 and 8. And you make arrangements not to be having supper during those period of times, and make arrangements with them not to be too far straight off during those period of times. If your cell phone's not working at the house, go to the Walmart parking lot or somewhere where it will work, and have available for her to talk to them twice a week. Now, understand, and I tell parents this all the time, your children are not going to want to talk to you for 20 minutes on a telephone when they're 8 and 10 years old.
My children totally want to talk to me for that long. Totally, Judge. You don't even know.
That's just, I don't need to spend $2 million doing a federal study to figure that out. I just know that to be true. I had children to call, and they want to go play, they want to go see their friends, they want to get back on their tablet, they want to do this or that. I have the same thing with grandchildren. I got 6 of them. I call them, I talk to them for just a few minutes, and then they don't want to talk to you for 15, 20 minutes. They want to get on to doing something else. You gotta understand that. It's not a disrespect to you. It's just the way children are. That's the way their mind, they have short attention spans, and that's the way they operate. So we are gonna make that modification. And I was gonna modify the summers, but we already got, he gets 2 weeks in the summers, and that's enough for him to have vacations and times with them, especially since he has them all during the main part of the year anyway. Now, you need to do a better job of communicating to her about school events and that sort of thing. Granted, she's got the right to go, she's got the right to go check the school calendar. She can find out when the school luncheons are. She can find out when the school plays are. She can find out when anything associated with school is going on. All she's got to do is contact the school or go online. I can go online right now and find out what the schedule is and when they have on short days and long days and when they're going to get off, when they're not going to get off. That's all that's online. But if I wanted to find out other information, if I had the right to, and I had a court order saying I could, she can go to the school directly and find out that information. But I tell parents, custodial parents, this all the time. If it's anything more than a Band-Aid or an aspirin, she needs to know about it. They go to the doctor for a headache, for whatever it is, they go to the doctor for anything, or emergency room for anything, she needs to know about it. Now, there's an app, several apps, some of them are free, that parents can use to convey that sort of information, and it keeps a record of it all. And I'm sure you've got that information at your office. I can't remember the young lady's name at your office that does all the.
She knows, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, she actually knows all the ins and outs of all this stuff. She knows the game, and she can put y'all in touch with that, and you might use that to both of your benefits. I do not find him to be in any further contempt since the entry of the order in July. I understand your concern about going to California and them saying they don't have to come back. It's a bullet you're gonna have to bite. There's no restriction on where she can take them when she has hesitation. And if she doesn't bring them back, then granted, it's gonna cost you money to go get them and to get them back. But it's gonna probably terminate any visitation you might ever have in the future. If you take them to California and don't bring them back, they will get back one day. We had that case right here in this county, this county. The mother took them to Puerto Rico, and they had to go find them in Puerto Rico and get them back. Now she's sitting in a jail cell in either Candler or Toombs, and she ain't gonna see her children for a long, long time because I can't trust her to bring them back.
I didn't see that one,
So
guys.
if you
Sorry.
ever do take them anywhere, Charlotte, Florida, you lived in Florida at one time. Don't take them to Florida, don't take them to California. You can take them, but if you don't bring them back, they will find you one day. And then you may never see them again without somebody being present to supervise it at a location guarded by sheriff. Do you understand that? Okay. So the modification order that's been filed on child support, originally filed, what have you filed now is with regard to child support? Did you file anything when you filed this? I know you got a contempt action pending. She's got a new modification pending, so that old order, I can get the old case on the modification, I can just deny that one, but we still got the issue of child support in her petition now. Am that right? Is that still pending? There's a new action filed by her for custody.
Correct.
And I'm assuming child support's a part of that action as well.
Correct. I mean, that's why we have the proposed child support worksheet, so.
Right, yes.
Which again, it's more reflective of the current situation because it includes the deviations for the
Right.
current child as well as the.
What I want to see is another, and I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but I want another child support worksheet prepared and emailed to me where she does not get the deviation for the third child. That's a matter within the discretion of the court. And the fact that she knew she had these two children prior to making the decision to have the third child, and the fact that she's got assistance with the expenses for that child. She's not single mother with no other support for that child, which would make a difference. She's got a husband that's working to help support that child. So the court is entitled to exercise its discretion and not give that credit for the third child. So I want to see a child support worksheet without that child being involved, and then I'll make a decision as to what her child support is going to be going forward. I'm not going to modify custody to change. I'm not going to change custody from him to her, although there may be a legal basis for it. There is a change of condition, but in my view, it does not warrant a change of primary custody from him over to her. It just doesn't meet what I think is necessary, given all the facts and circumstances in this case. Now, the elephant remaining in the room is, what are we going to do about her $37,000 arrearage? In some cases, I find her in contempt, hold her in the county jail till a substantial portion of that's paid, like $10,000. Because when we were here last, and we modified it so that she would start paying extra toward the arrearage, and she still hadn't paid, and she's getting further behind every month. She's not making the full, not even making the full regular payments. She's getting further behind every month. So apparently that ain't worked. I didn't lock her up then and hold her till the full amount, a lump sum was paid, because she agreed to pay the full amount of child support plus $300 on the arrearage, and she hadn't done it. So what other solutions do I have? I'll listen to proposals.
I think probably I mean, I don't know if it's a conversation that can happen with council about discussing the potential of a purge payment. We haven't had that discussion as to what that could be.
I sure would have had it. And I sure would have said, oh, whoa, you got that $8,000? Let me see if I can't work out a purge of this contempt right now by talking to Mr. Hart and saying, okay, can we purge ourselves by paying $8,000 instanter, rather than her have to go to court and meet up with the judge about what to do when she has not honored her obligation to pay even the regular amount since July when we were here. So y'all, oh, and with regard to the child support worksheet, also y'all figure out about the insurance. If she's going to provide insurance through her employer, then obviously she'd get credit for that $244 toward the insurance. If you want to see, Mr. Hart, if you need to see the records as to where that figure is, in other words, how to calculate that figure. I mean, if you may trust her to say, give you the right amount, and that's fine. I'm not questioning that.
They gave it to us.
Yeah. If you're good with that, that's fine. Y'all might decide, okay, she gets credit for that, and then he hadn't got to provide health insurance for the boys. Because no use her providing it and him providing it, because they ain't both going to pay. They just don't do that. Not in my experience anyway. Now, you do if you got a Medicare and a supplement, they'll both pay and that sort of thing, but otherwise, no. So y'all work that out too with regard to the child support worksheet and figure out how that ought to be. But take away the third child as well, and let me see what that looks like. Now, I hear, y'all heard my proposal on the contempt. What else you got?
Your Honor, I think even in your ruling, you've stated issues where he has not followed the order since the temporary hearing.
No, I didn't say that. I said that they had some disagreement, but that she ended up getting all the visitation that she was supposed to have, except for maybe the 2 hours.
As it relates to the physical visitation, but as far as her access to the children and her access to information.
What we're discussing now is how to deal with her contempt for non-payment of child support, given the fact that even though she was $30,000 behind, and everybody agreed, including the court, to let her not go to jail that day, but to start paying $300 toward the arrearage, per month in addition to the regular child support payments, and she has not even paid the regular child support payments, much less anything toward the arrearage, since that modification or agreement was entered into. I don't remember when that was, but whenever it was. How then are we to address her deficiency in child support at this time, short of go to jail until the $37,000 is paid, or go to jail till the $10,000 toward it is paid, and then make regular child support payments plus arrears? How are we going to address that? That's the issue before the court right now.
Well, I think our proposed child support worksheet does slightly modify the amount down. It modifies the base amount down, albeit slightly. I think it's by like $70. But I also know that by using the funds from the payout, there should be more funds accessible going forward. And so I guess our proposal would be to obviously modify it as best as possible to reflect the current incomes and the current positions of the parties, on top of the fact that she's paying the insurance potentially and has a third child to care for, and address it using the lower amount and an arrearage on top of that, which again should be somewhat less than it is before, which will allow her to catch up as well with the additional funds that she has access to going forward that she did not have prior.
I don't think that addressed the issue at all, but Mr. Hart?
Your Honor, my concern is that she's had lump sums of money to help pay it down and has not. Back in April of last year, we considered the 2020 deviation where she was making less, but she started making more money again and still not meeting it. Either a purge payment with jail or, I don't think she got $37,000 laying around, but some lump sum, or I don't even know, is it delayed detention?
Well, we did that. We delayed it last time.
That's right, we did.
We were here. I don't remember if y'all gave me a copy of that order or not. We were here when we set on the arrearage, and she was supposed to pay $300 a month toward the arrearage. And she hadn't done that. She hadn't paid a dime toward the arrearage. Not a penny, not one dime that she paid toward the arrearage. So I can't trust her to say, okay, if you'll let me go today, I'll start paying toward the arrearage, because when was that order entered? When was
April of last year.
April of 24
Yes,
or 23?
The
April of 23,
Yes, sir.
yeah. And she has not paid a dime toward the arrearage since then, not one dime.
Well, I would say, Your Honor, again, when she was furloughed, there was no modification made.
That was back in 2020, counsel.
I understand, but there was a long period of time where she had a significantly lower income.
I understand that.
And requested a lower amount.
And her counsel never followed up on that, never scheduled a hearing, and never got anything done on that. That's not on the court. We had hearings all through 2020. I even had live hearings on some cases during 2020, but I certainly had multiple cases on either Zoom or WebEx, and I heard every issue that was to be heard, and we didn't create a backlog in this circuit because we kept having hearings, much to the chagrin of some of the other circuits that felt like we should not have been. But this was done in April of 2023. She's not paid a dime on the arrearage since then, not one dime. All right, I do find her to be in willful contempt of this court's previous order. I'll accept the amount in her scheduled worksheet, which was $37,153. She'll be held in the custody of the sheriff of Toombs County until a $10,000 payment on that arrearage has been made, at which time she'll be released, and then commence making the $300 per month on the arrearage, in addition to whatever I determine her new child support to be, which I will make once I see the figures with the new child support worksheets, the insurance and all that stuff being figured out. I have never understood this mother from the beginning until now. Still don't understand it. She's had the opportunity to do better and has chosen not to do better. And she's given this court no other choice, either other than to do this or just ignore the best interest of these children. And I'm not gonna do that. All right, I've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I've got 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. There's 6, okay, and 12, and then I found 6. It was mixed up. So I have the exhibits. I'll hand those to the court reporter. Y'all get me the new child support worksheets and other information that I've asked for. In the meantime, I will do an order holding her in contempt for that amount. Let me write that down on my notes because I don't want to take this exhibit with me. 37,000, what I say?
153.
$37,153. I'll get an order today to the sheriff's department so they'll have that authority to hold her. Sheriff, let her call her husband, let her call her folks in California, let her call her airline, let her call anybody she needs to call to get that $10,000 together. Anything else?
Your Honor, we'll prepare drafting that order and get you the numbers, because he works a lot far away, so my
Yeah.
office will start drafting the other parts.
Very well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's okay because remember when they put the current child support order in where she pays $500 per child, that was when she was making like $2,600 a month. Now she's making $5,700 a month. And the judge is asking for them to redraft a new order without taking her other kid into account at all. So when she gets out of jail, which she's probably out of jail by now. This was today. This happened earlier. This really happened earlier today. Oh my gosh. See, now you guys were saying the whole time she should go to jail, she should go to jail. That thought never crossed my mind once that she would end up in jail for this. She's the plaintiff. I just never considered that she would go to jail for this. So when he when he turned around and said, "Put her in jail," I was blown away because my brain never even went there. You guys were already there, and I was trying not to post comments of people saying "put her in jail" because I was hoping there were people out there like me that weren't even thinking about it. She could be in jail right this second. Maybe she didn't get the money together in time, and she's still sitting in jail. Now, if you were her and you were sitting in jail, are you thinking, "Man, I really have to pay for these children. Like they are having a rough time right now"? Or are you thinking, "That damn judge and that damn man put me in jail"? Oh man. I didn't either. This is crazy. Yeah, she's probably saying, "Nah, man, this ain't fair." Okay, Glory, you're right, okay? I think it's Reese. Reese. And I think we looked it up. I'm like 86% sure Kelly looked it up. But not 100% sure. I understand that this guy kept calling him Judge Reeves. I know. A lot of them call him Judge Reeves. I really think his name is Judge Reese, and I will always call him Judge Reese. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but not when they're the plaintiff asking for a modification. Then they don't usually jail them. They usually jail them when a contempt is filed against them. I don't even know if an actual contempt was filed against her. I know there was one in the past, and he had a contempt against him in the past, and he lost his contempt, but he didn't go to jail. I don't know. I just hope this man gets some money because he broke my heart when he was on stand. Like, I guess memories go flooding back into my head, and he broke my heart. And I knew that, he's in an impossible situation. You can't go to work because child's care is like $400 a week. If you go to work to pay for that, there is zero left over to pay for anything else. I understand where he is right now. So I am too. I am overjoyed at that. Because, oh, whew. I mean, those are her kids. And you see how he was. How long have you had full custody? Every single day of their life, I've had custody. Yeah. I know Donald was thinking that same way too. Yeah, I think so. Let's watch her get cuffed up. No, the judge shut it off. Oh, man. See, judge shut it off. It's off. That's fine. It's fine. We got what we wanted. We got what we wanted. Guys, thank you so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to do an OJ. I'm going to do it. If, you guys need to get some sleep or whatever, go to sleep. Find the front door first. Stand up and walk to the front door. Try it. Wait, I missed my go. Yeah, she's going to jail. All right, guys, I'm going to start OJ right now, so I will see you all in a few minutes, or you can watch it later, okay? Thanks, guys. Bye, guys.
Got these lights that goes digital dreams. Through the screen, her blue eyes gleam. Wicked humor, sharp as a knife. Her stream sparks electric light. Late night when the world sleeps, she's the friend that always keeps. Giggles roll like thunder loud. She stands out in any crowd. Kathy's laugh cuts through the gloom. Eyes blue like a summer's bloom. Her humor dark and twisted sharp. In a way, there's no alarm. Dreaming tales late into the night. Her laughter feels just right. Even when my welter's gray, with a giggle, she lights the way. Her eyes mirror sky so blue. In her jokes, there's a truth so true. With each stream, she brings the light. Turns dark days into bright. Kathy's laugh cuts through the gloom. Eyes blue like a summer's bloom. Her humor dark and twisted sharp. In a way, there's no alarm. Streaming tales late into the night. Her laughter feels just right. Even when my welter's gray, with a giggle, she lights the way. Kathy's laugh cuts through the gloom. Eyes blue like a summer's bloom. Her humor dark and twisted sharp. In a way, there's no